Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the opening of Pandora's box. I'm here with my colleague, Magnus Wieslander, and I'm Wayne Singer. We're from Dorina Solutions. We are effectively, I think, representing subject matter experts, if by no other definition than the fact that we are from out of town and we have slides. So we want to share with you the journey that we went through in really complying with a mandate that came down from ONC. The drivers or the actual requirements and requests came from our current customers and even new customers that says, how can we help with the journey? And we looked at Pandora's box as, don't be afraid to open it because of some of the dreads that are in there of compliance, changing the burden of clinical decision support and ongoing maintenance. And what if there was the hope that everything would be improved? That's our journey. All right.
So what's on the agenda? So first of all, we are Dorina Solutions. So regulation is what we do. We're masters. We're always at the top of the game. What we want to do here is take you through our magical journey. We're going to show you all the secret ingredients that go into our magical potion for you to achieve success. And we're going to highlight some of the impact we've had so far and how we've achieved first in this regulation.
Right, we have over 15 years in this health IT space, ranging from consultation to actually ready-made plug-and-play solutions. We really want to adapt to a customer's needs and fit into the profile what's needed for them. Now, ASTP or ONC, which will always be in my name for the government regulators, they basically came out with their roadmap. It's the extension of the ever-changing model from early on back in 2006 with the origination of certification. It grew to 2011 with an edition, then 2015 edition. Then they had a Cures update. That was this ever-increasing mandate that was in place. It changed to HTI 1, which because the editions were becoming dated. You could have a 2015 edition certification, but here we are in 2025, and was that current or not? So now they renamed it to HTI 1. One of the first programs coming out of there was this need to have B11, which was decision support interventions. The requirement would be to keep your base certification, you need to touch this A9 criteria and move it up to B11. A9 has been in place since 2012 and really hasn't been touched. Now, whether you're an EHR or actually have been using EHRs, how many of you have had clinical decision support interventions in your everyday life other than drug allergy, or let's say some of those that would come up as a requirement for MIPS? Anyone here say as a daily life, you get a clinical decision support that triggers as you're documenting or working with an EHR? One. Not alone, because really it was this dormant requirement. It was part of a base. It was in there. People were supporting it, but worried about alert fatigue, worried about all the other things that came out of it. It really sat still since 2012. That's why all of a sudden when B11 came up, it was a dramatic shift. And now I've got to put attention to a product that has been really in hibernation. So we were working, obviously, we tag teamed here to say, I can do a regulatory overview, regulatory requirement, and then work with our development team to rapidly put it in charge into place and look to also add that new dimension of evidence-based and predictive DSI in an AI category.
And what is DSI, Wayne?
DSI was that transition as we grew with all the different, iterations of certification. Clinical decision support was a really focused time. When the patient came in, the provider opened up the record, I interacted, and I closed it. There's your clinical decision support. They expanded it to say decision support intervention. Anywhere with the pre-booking of a patient's encounter all the way to the billing segment. There could be interventions that came in. Is your insurance card up to date? Or are your bills up to date, current? Anywhere in the decision support continuum, Now we can do alerts. It might be a front office person, and the provider never needs to see it. So that's the origination of this expanded role of decision support intervention. So needed to certify it, needed to be part of your base, and that's where we were going.
So we received a lot of questions from EHRs about predictive DSI. So how do they ensure that they meet the implementation standards around ONC? Everything's still foggy. No one understands anything. Will this disrupt our clinical workflows? Nobody wants to open 3 different tabs, one for my predictive apps, one for my evidence-based apps, and one for my EHR, flick through them. You want it all in one workflow so you can do things efficiently.
One of the misunderstood elements of certification was, do I need to have every box checked on Chapel? And in fact, what the new requirement that came with the 2015 edition was, you as an EHR could be certified by what you built or what you blended with on an outside program. So we have had success in many different components where we would actually develop it, certify it, and then interface with an EHR, and then they inherited our certification, took the burden off of them, and really moved forward with the innovation as whatever the product line would provide. So the concern came, though, was, okay, now the reason A9 was kind of dormant is we don't want it to interrupt the workflow. We could show them where it's configurable. The alerts were really happening at the provider's direction. I want this computer to watch my back. I don't want it to be in my face, but I want it to trigger when appropriate. That's what we designed into it. And then one of the big concerns that we heard was this transparency, this new evidence-based predictive DSI source attributes. What's that all about? It was really complex. It really had the most questions. And that's where we had really our claim to fame of showing what providers can do to enhance their performance. Now, one of the things we always did is collaborate with the ONCs, the testing bodies, to say, what are they looking for? What are they going to be testing? That was part of the problem. There was a lot of webinars going on, and that's when my emails and phone would glow and blow up and say, what did I just hear? What do I really have to do? Because I heard a lot of things, but it didn't clarify what I needed to do, other than it was a mandate. They also were hoping that they were going to kick the can down the road. That didn't happen. Historically, there were some elements that, okay, we got to go from ICD 9 to ICD 10. How many years did it take of just kiddings to make that happen? They were hoping, and we were hearing, do you think that they're going to delay this? They were very adamant about, nope, it's going to happen, and indeed it did. So that collaboration allowed us to clarify what's needed for people, put our product in place, and move very quickly.
So with the prologue finished, we set our magical journey. We have the understanding. Wayne, being our wizard and in all the regulatory space, now passes all this knowledge to us in the development team. And I've got a picture here. It's akin to solving a Rubik's Cube. You're solving it. ONC says, hey, give me that. Take it here. They scramble it, give it back to you. It's like, okay, go again. You're like, okay, fine. Regulation is changing a bit. They still are not set in their ways. Let me try solve it again. They say, actually, we changed our mind. Can you change this again? So it's this back and forth with ONC. They're like, you know what? Actually, I think this means that. It can be interpreted in 2 different ways. Let's be a bit more set. So it's kind of a bridge between our development team, Wayne, and then ONC, and whatever they can actually come up when it's concrete or not. So it really required our development team to understand what parts are the more important. Okay, here we understand the shape. It is a cube. We don't know what colors they want yet. They don't know what colors they want. So we need to understand the shape and be really adaptable to how to build this product. The things that are already set, the things that are going to change, we need to adapt to that. So that's something we adopted with our agile development approach for this.
Our team was very nimble, because I had to go back to them several times saying, guess what? I just had a meeting and this really got more refined. And I could hear them when I, called them up, got into a meeting. Oh my gosh, what am I going to undo now? However, our flexibility, our agile development process really allowed us to stay on track and really be the first to come out of the door with a certified product. So that was our process of building the better mousetrap and really working it into a clinical workflow. And Magnus, if I'd allow you to take them through that development process.
Yep. So we first started with just a proof of concept. So late August, it was all coming out. They said you have to have your B11 ready by January. So we said this is something we should do. We did some digging, found out, made a proof of concept using EHR launch. But it turns out that EHRs actually want to use the thing. Nobody wants to most people want to just have that regulation checkbox ticked, but people actually want to use it. And the power of B11 is really in the hands of CDS hooks. So going beyond our proof of concept, we now are integrating both CDS hooks to support evidence-based and predictive-based all in one screen, real time, and not disrupt your workflow. So it's that journey from going just, okay, how do people want to understand the regulation and actually using the product.
And for us to do the rapid development, we leveraged what we had in the previous mandate, the G10, or having a FHIR-based API. That was on the roadmap a year before. That really said, if you don't do this, you will lose your compliance. It was part of the Cures Act. It was part of information blocking. But there was now a blending or an overlap of requirements. So we could leverage the G10 application, that FHIR API, the EHR launch, the CDS hooks. In fact, my quib is that CDS hooks originated before the change to DSI. I contend it might have even been called DSI hooks, but it's the same process of allowing interfaces, allowing easy, quick access, allowing the providers to configure and have what they need at their fingertip. But G10 even evolved over time. 2015, they had a G8. It was really a FHIR, or it was an access, API access. FHIR was a suggestion. That was 2015. 2020, it came out to say, well, we're retiring G8, and now we will want you to put FHIR in G10. But that's 2020. You didn't need to actually start programming and having it certified until 2022. And even then, it wasn't until the end of 2023 that it was hitting the road. If you don't do it, you lose. So that evolution is what they were hoping for B11. No, it came as do it in really a 9-month time frame and put it in place, even to include what they call SED, Safety Enhanced Design testing, which shows that we actually took what we made, put it in the hands of customers, got their feedback, ease of use, all the compliance, the understanding. We learned from it, and then we go into the next phase.
And if you're wondering for the mousetrap, yeah. ONC is the mouse.
Yeah, right. And then we really wanted to toot our horn because we did essentially come out of the door with the first certified B11 application. There's our certificate as well. And it really signified that we went through the certification process, but we don't ever stop there. Oh, by the way, we're certified. What we achieved was actually usage with, these slides are old or dated. We're now approaching 40 customers who are actually using our product and actually implementing it past checking the box and into configurable evidence-based. And then we're working very closely to enhance the new predictive DSI program as well.
So what are the key outcomes? We've opened the box. First come the demons, the uncertainty and everything. But at the end of Pandora's box, there's always hope. So number one thing is speed. ONC came up with this late August. They say you have to get this done by January 1st. So it's a 6-month timeline. Even into late September, they're still changing things. So it's even less. People are uncertain. Can we get this done? Do we need to look elsewhere? Are we going to reprioritize everything? Is it going to be chaos? So they're looking for outside solutions for this from that time pressure.
Right. Even adoption, we really got great remarks, feedback that, again, people were concerned about how hard and how difficult it would be to work with. Our onboarding process was 30 minutes, and we had 15 minutes for questions because we made it real simple. We leveraged G10, the APIs. I'm old enough to remember the first thing I had to ask an EHR was, what's your program language? Are you .NET? Are you Java? Perl? We knew them all. Now with APIs, we're agnostic. We don't really have to worry about that. We talk to everyone, and the interface with our development team makes it so streamlined. We're proud to be that. Most everyone ended up we set up a call for a half hour. Is just this the intro? No, you'll be out with your sandbox ready to go right after it.
So where are we headed now? The box is opened, the demons are out, hope is here. So what we have done is we are actually sponsoring a hackathon. We've got a placard here. If you do want to enter as well, it's still ongoing until March 2nd is the deadline. So it's for predictive AI. So we ask you to have an AI application using a predictive AI in it as an element. It doesn't have to be new. If you already have one, you can enter and be a part of it already. You don't have to build from scratch for the competition itself. And as part of the competition entry requirements, we ask you to fill out the source attributes, which is that B11 component for trust, safety, and reliability of your AI application. And also on the horizon is the CHAI model card. So CHAI is the Coalition for Health AI. So they are looking to step into the space of kind of also transmitting that trust and reliability with AI applications. They call this their nutritional label, so that you don't have to hire a regulatory wizard to transcribe the glyphs for you and have a great understanding of all the regulatory lingo. You can have a look at the card. It's all human readable. You can understand it. You look at the section you want. How are you mitigating bias? What's the demographic for my AI application? Who's paying for it? Who are the stakeholders? All the important information.
It's a real enhancement from the history of what we see on, as you mentioned, the regulatory side. If you really looked at when any regulation came out, the prescriptions for sleep aids went down dramatically. I could give you the 11-page document, you'd be asleep by page 3. So this particular element of nutritional label, everyone knows what that means in our consumer life. We all don't look at them as much, but this takes the edge off. When I talk 31 source attributes, that makes people's heads spin. Now, you don't need all of them, but some key things are important depending on what your application is. This takes you through those necessary steps to see, does it apply to you in your situation? And it does comply with the person can edit and can actually complement or record and enhance it as needed. So it really is a enhancement to the clinical decision support food chain and works for everyone, and it's very much an ease of use. Want to do the final takeaways?
Yeah,
Bring us home?
So finally, at first this was just a regulatory challenge, right? So we're looking at B11 is just something you have to do. You have to comply, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So hope at the end of the Pandora's box is that something that is just a requirement, you can actually turn into something that can enhance clinicians' decision making. That with the power of evidence and predictive AIs in their one workflow. So that's the big burden people don't want to hear is this going to add more work? I don't want more work. That's why the way that doctors write stereotypically is really bad, because they have to go fast. They don't have a lot of time. So if there's something that can alleviate that pain, maybe now we can start reading what they're actually writing.
Yeah, we achieve certification, so we take the burden off. That concern is there. We also did, it's configurable, so the alert fatigue concern or any type of disruption is gone. From a standpoint of working with EHRs, it was very quick. If you look at the schematic, we kind of occupy the lower third of that, where it's very easy to configure, provide feedback, and alerts are in place, both evidence-based. We didn't throw out the old, but we enhanced the new with the prediction. And again, as Magnus mentioned, we're trying to foster that next generation. They're really lacking right now, but growing. I think from a predictive DSI group, they were also waiting for the mandate to hit. To tell you the truth, in my observation, why would I build a whole bunch of things if they're going to kick the can down the road? The road is done. It's here. We're ready. So that's where join the hackathon. We'd like to see. We've got some very encouraging new and different ideas that really would satisfy production-oriented usage. So from our standpoint, we're really impressed with the quality of groups. As we mentioned, when we did these slides, it was 1,800. We're now over 2,200 and growing. So there's a pretty active audience for this. All right, so I think what we've done is take you through our journey and really appreciate your attendance here. We're in booth 750. Would love to take the Q&A part over there. Any and all questions that you have, we're definitely entertaining. We've got an active team that'll cover you from everywhere from high level into the security, any element of your questions we've got covered.
The AI is out of the box, so let's not try to stuff it out of the box. Let's try to utilize it to its best potential. Thank you.
Thank you.